now. So, okay. Thank you, guys. I saw the math function assignments that I dropped yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, I did that yesterday. And you guys are doing, I saw your results. I saw your answers. I was like, wow, the way you guys manipulated the math functions, brought out your own ideas and stated the reasons why these functions are actually coming out and why they are being used. And also, I really want to stress the fact that when you get to a roadblock in coding, in programming as a whole, there is always a community out there to help you out when it comes to your Google, your Stack Overflow. That particular error that you are encountering right now is, I think, I'm very sure, 100% sure, if it is Python, if it is JavaScript, all those top programming languages right now in the world, no matter the challenge you face, you can always Google it and check it out. Some persons reach out to me today. I was like, okay, how do we solve this? I said, okay, I can actually solve this thing for you, but as it is right now, I believe this is a very simple issue that you can actually just, as you have told me, this is what it's going to do. Just go on Google, just type it, Stack Overflow. Everything will just show up. You just see it yourself. So the essence of programming is about problem solving. You tend to try again and again. Even at some point, even your code editor could also fail you. I had some persons today who were like, my print function is not working again. What is going on? Not the code was actually correct, but it was definitely the issues with the code editor. Sometimes it could mess you up big time. So try as much as possible to get that particular aspect of programming. Even the topmost programmers, even I am sitting down here, so sometimes I have projects at work and we don't even know how to even go about it. The client is calling, like, how are we going to, I need the work submitted at the particular time, and maybe 2 days later, 2 days before the submission, we don't even know how we can even find a way out. But sometimes we just find, once you know the problem, actually, you understand what you actually want, you can do it step by step. You ask Google, try to figure out some things, you bring out some codes, you actually get some codes from the inside, understand what it's doing, write your own way, put it in your own way, and make things work out for you. So it's actually for you to try and solve problems by yourself. Okay. So I think at the end of the 100 days, you should be able to be confident enough to say, I can look at any Python code and I know what to do with it. Even though you might not know the actual answer immediately, but you can say, okay, let me check it again, check it, go back, check it again, and you'll be able to get it right. So if you're feeling lost so far, some persons are complaining that I'm taking it like an advanced kind of course. No, I think I've been simple enough. Those ones I've never coded before, I think I used to ask some of you, like, how is it going so far? Some persons said, okay, you're doing well. But some persons are saying, we need more work, we need more exercises. Yes, exercises are coming, but I'm just trying to feed you with little things now. Very soon, once we start our projects, we'll do our projects and I'll give you projects, the same things to go and modify. And it will be very, very stressful at that particular point. But for a fact that you have gotten to at least this particular stage, you can actually do anything in programming. So let's go straight to the point of tonight's class. I think we looked at functions. I don't know if anybody can actually just before we start, can raise up and just say a little thing he or she learned from the class in the previous class, okay? And just raise up your hand and just say what you learned, what exactly did you get from the class, or anything at all. If there's nobody, we can actually proceed, okay? So I'm not seeing anybody's hand, so I can actually proceed. Okay, Mr. David. Okay, Mr. David, you have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So what I learned is that there is pre-registered functions in the Python, and normally it is math, like there are complex ones and simple ones, math formulas and all these things. And when we want to use it, we have to generate it, like we have to integrate the list in our Python so as to be able to use it. Why am I saying that? Because I tried, for example, when I was watching the last class, and I tried it after generating normally as I saw, it was given. So after I left my Colab for like maybe 5 hours, And I came back, I was typing in, for example, I was typing the radius mat.py, for example, and it was not coming out. And I was questioning myself, but what have I written wrong? Everything is correct, but it's not coming out. So I had to go back and check to integrate the mat list to be sure that it's working. And once I did that, everything started going through. So like that is the important thing I noticed or that I learned. Always integrate the mat list before starting using it, unless it will seems to be like an error. Why it is not an error?
Oh, nice one, nice one, nice observation too by yourself. But if at some point some person will be weeping at that particular point, what have I done wrong? Well, thank you for finding a way out and doing it well. Well done, well done. If there's anyone that wants to share again, you can actually share before we start. One more person, or we proceed. Okay, all right. So let's go there. I think in the last class we stopped at the student data. Yes, so let me try and figure it out on my screen. Okay. Okay, I think this is, let me try and increase font size. I think it's that someone that is using phone in recording will be able to get it. Okay, let's leave it at 36. Okay. So in the last class, we looked at the student data and we brought out other functions like the student underscore name, student age, and student language. And once we did this, it actually brought out the name, the age, and the language itself. So I'm going to connect this again. I'm going to connect this particular collab, and let me try and run this if it's going to run, because sometimes collab could actually misbehave. So let's see if it's going to run for us. Okay. It's actually working. At some point, I'm trying to look at what, yes, we can see what is going on right now. So name student underscore name is not defined. Look at what is going on right now. You see, so we have to start from the very beginning to like from the very beginning of when we can decide to, okay, let's see the runtime. Can run all again, so we can just decide to run all. So that sometimes because it's not connected anymore, and okay, you can see some things are coming up here. There's an error here. Okay. It doesn't want to run again after this one, so let's just continue from here. Continues. You can see some of these things. It can actually cause a whole lot of mess for you if you did not check it very well. So you can see you have to go through each of them, except like now I'm not using this particular maths sign, but I just want to use it. I just want to make sure I'll show you what kind of errors you might encounter as you proceed. So but it doesn't mean that your code is actually wrong. It actually means that your collab has been disconnected and everything seems a whole brand new since it's in the cloud interface. But if you're using your PyCharm, it will not have done, this thing will not cause any problems. So just go straight to the point. But why reason I'm using Colab is because some persons are still having issues with their PyCharm, and also Colab is very easy to actually understand at some point. Sometimes someone said that PyCharm is looking like a Binance or looking like something that we cannot even navigate through. So let's just go with this for now. So I add a new code and it's a new cell. And what I want to do in this particular one is I want to override a particular kind of function we did, and that was the student's name. What if I want to change this student's name and I want to change the student data and I want to use it as name always comes with the first name and the last name. What if I want to change it? I want to create a kind of a function that takes students a name as the first and the second, which is the first name and the last name. So we can actually create another function and just try to, we now use it to override. I want you to see how Python flows works as a whole using the function kind of operation. So let's just create a new variable. It could be student underscore first name. So we can just remember we use the def functions here. This shows that we are defining a function. This is anything, anywhere you see this, it means that that's a function. So let's use students. Okay, student underscore. This particular time we are using first name. So I'm taking it slowly. If anybody that says I'm faster, you can actually raise your hand and say I'm too fast. So remember, we open with a open and close parentheses, and we definitely use the colon. It's the syntax of Python defining a function. So once we click enter, it gives us an indentation. We said that indentation has is made up of 4 spaces, or it's also a tab. So once we do that, what do we want this particular function to do? Is to just print. It will just print what the first name, and I can just define it as, okay, since it's going to be a string, so I just put as name. Sorry, going to be as name, and we're going to put a colon, and we can put the name, which was what, a Kemini. Okay, so we have defined this particular function as the student underscore first name. If we decide to run this out, remember how we print out, how we call out our function. If I want to call this function out, I can decide to just backspace, and instead of, okay, some persons had issues here. So you can see what I'm copying right now. I'm copying even with the column, which is not supposed to be. So if I run this, it's going to create an error. So what do? I remove the column and I run this. If I run it, it's going to show a Kemini as the first name. So let's create another function that actually takes the last name, and then we now integrate it and override the student underscore name with this particular ones we want to do. So dev, and it's going to be student underscore, let's say last name. So last name, and we are still going to put this, and definitely a colon. So what do we want to print? We want to print, okay, I was supposed to, okay, you can still use that name. That could have been last name. So let's just last name, and decide to change the other one later on. So last name is O2. I'm using, okay, O2. So I can decide to go change this one as first name. And guys, if I don't run this code, if I want to print this out later on, it's not going to show this person. So I need to run this again. Please pay attention. It's very, very important when it comes to collab. So like you can see now, if I run this, if I put students underscore last name here, it's going to put out a Kemini too. So I don't want to do that again. So what I want to do right now is just trying to show you, I want to show you how the Python function works, comparing to like overriding different kind of functions. So let me put dev student underscore name. Now this student underscore name in the first function we did was just a Kemini2. He printed the first and the last name. So at this particular time, what I want to do right now is simply to give it another function, create another function. Let's see if it's going to override it, and put in a student underscore the first name. And we're going to put it as open and close parentheses and enter. The next one is student underscore the last name, and definitely we'll put in the open and close parentheses. So now, if I click on here to put it in, store it up in the collab, and I decide to call out the function here, which is student. At this particular point, I would like to get feedback from you. What do you think the answer would be? What do you think the answer would be at this particular point? What do you think the answer would be? Guys, if you are hearing me, you can just raise up your hand and just tell me what do you think the answer would be comparing to the previous student name that we used. What do you think would be the answer if we call out that particular function for student underscore name? Anyone that wants to try? It's quite easy. if you're following it up so far. What do you think the results will be?
Screen.
Mr. Stephen, are you talking? Are you there? Are you the one speaking?
Yeah, please, let's your screen, sir.
Okay. So this is what I did for the student underscore first name. So this was what we had for student's name before, which was Ekemini2 as name. So what do you think we'll have now if we call out this particular student's name now? Now we have added student underscore first name and student underscore last name. Anyone that wants to try? Okay, Mr. Bethel, you have the floor. What do you think will be the answer?
It's going to print out the first and the last name.
Will it be on the same line?
No.
Okay, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So you see, it changes and it overrides the former function. So what I want to try to tell you that I think this is a popular one also, question that they may tend to ask you. If you have created a particular function, this particular function we did in the last class was showing a student is the same name, student underscore name, which was Ekemino2 as name directly, no last and no first or last name. So what Python code does, it's called a Python kind of flow. So what happens there as it's coming down, as you're running your code and it comes down and it meets a new particular function, it actually starts from that particular and overwrites the other ones. If it was student name before, it sees another function called student name and goes straight into that function and say, okay, what is this new student name doing? And let me see what it has. So it comes into this particular flow chart. It sees student underscore first name, which has Ekemini as first name, and also student underscore last name, and which has the last name as Utu. So this is what it will do, and it overwrites the other one. So I think I was just trying to like find a way to make you understand that particular. So once it does this, it can therefore return back to the other. If you have decided to call other functions, maybe the other ones we did was we can decide to put it in a student data and process it again, just as we did for student data here. You can just put student name here, student age, student language, and to give you the same thing, but Ekemini and O2 will be different, coming out as first and last name. So the next one I'll be going to is very important. This is when you are actually you're going into the main business, you're going into the main business of functions. I think when it has to do with parameters, I can remember when I was trying to explain a particular thing in the previous class, I said that when you're defining a function, there is always a parenthesis, open and close, that comes after with a colon. Inside this particular bracket, there are things that we need to put in to pass it out. They are called parameters. And these parameters comes as arguments in which you use to do what? To run a particular function, or really call it upon to run a particular function. Maybe you want it to print the square of numbers, or you want it to do a particular kind of function. I told you that function perform a specific kind of task. So parameters are inputs you provide to the function. You pass a parameter when you are doing what? A function call, which you are going to see practically here. So let me define something that could print the square of a number. So I can define, okay, print. So print underscore is going to be underscore. Let's remember when we say we should always use something that is something that we can describe. So we want to print the square of numbers. We just say square, and now what is going to happen? Normally I was supposed to just put in like this and we go, but there is going to be an argument here that I'm going to pass here, which is a parameter. I'm going to say, okay, what am I going to use these functions to do? I want to find a square of number. I can decide to put anything here, but since we always want to make this thing defined, so we just put number. We also want to use number here. And inside this block of code, which you have put and you have clicked on enter, you want to get the square of a number. and we can decide to use square. You can just say SQR equals to. So equals to, I'm going to define a variable here that is going to take in this parameter, which this particular argument, which is the number here, which is also a parameter too, is going to take this number. Anytime this number is being called upon, is going to use this number and act on what we want to define this square to be. So what we are going to say is like, how do we find the square of number? And just say number, we are calling out this particular argument here, number, which is we have already defined here in the space here, and say double asterisk sure 2. Okay, and once we do that, we enter again, and we decide to say whenever you call this function and whenever you want to perform the square of number, I want you to print the what? The square of this particular number. Okay, I want you to put the square of this particular number. Okay, so now if you run this, normally if you run this, since it's print here, sometimes you see how it's going to come about. This particular print is not going to happen. It's not going to work because you have to call it as a function. In the previous classes, we saw how it is. So we need to call it out and say, what number are we going to do? Now, let me make it very intentional now. And I decide to say, let me call out the print underscore square function here, Control C, and I put it here, Control V, and I decide to put it here. Guys, would this particular one run? If I tend to run it, will it run right now? If you are here, Mr. Steven, your hand is up.
Number. My hand has been
no.
up.
Oh, sorry about that. I did not really get to you. Is there anyone apart from Mr. Better that wants to answer? Would this particular function run? Do you think it will run? Or do you think it will not run? It will run, or it will run, or it will not run? Anyone that wants to can raise up your hand. Okay, I can see Stephen. I can see Sonda Boyeja. I can see Beta. I can see Okoyemi Fortuna. Please make sure you have not put it on your pie chart already, please. Okay, let's see. Let's have Mr. Sunday tell us and why. When you say no, if you say yes, if you say no, you must tell us why. Okay, so if you have the answer, Mr. Sunday, are you ready for that?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
It won't run because we have not passed the. We have not supplied the inputs, the arguments.
The argument
so it will not run. It needs
okay. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. If that's the same answer with you, Mr. Payemi, you can actually, okay. Mr. Payemi, what do you think your answer will be?
Yes, that's almost the same answer with me.
Okay.
It will not
okay,
run.
Thank you.
Because of
Okay. Please, wherever you are, mute yourself. Mute yourself. Thank you very much. Mute yourself. Okay. All right, Mr. Steven, your hand is still up. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
My question will actually goes back again, but then maybe I'll reserve.
Okay. After the class. This one I'm asking directly. Okay. After the class. All right. Okay. Okay, who is arguing? Is argument the same as syntax and parameters? Okay, please, after the class, we'll find a way to answer that question. So let's go back. Let's go back to the to our screen and see what will happen. So if we run this, okay, you can see it's a type error. Why is it a type error? First of all, you should always know what error you are passing, what is going on with your error. So you can see print underscore square missing one required positional argument, which is number. It has to do what you need to pass in a particular argument here, which we already defined in the print underscore square before. So any number that you put here, you can decide to put the square of, let's say 8, just to put and run it again, you can see. So your answer is going to be 64. If you can see the answer here, the answer is 64 because when you call out this particular argument here, this argument inside this particular function here that you have made, it's going to call it out and say, okay, now this number I'm going to square it by 2, and it's defined in a particular variable, and I decide to say, okay, fantastic, and print the square of that number, and it becomes 64. So so that's this thing. You can actually try something out by yourself. So let's take instead of one argument like this, let's take two. I like using arguments and parameters because I feel it's almost the same thing, but parameters are the ones you put when you start your functions. Let me try and clear that. When you start your functions here, like for example, this number could be a parameter, but the argument here is when you're trying to call out this particular function to perform that function in which you have called the parameter or the particular function to do. Okay, so I think that would be that for arguments and parameters at some point. To the way I tend to understand it, in a way I can explain it to you for you to understand. So let's go and use, instead of using just one parameter, let's use 2, and let's find the area of a rectangle. We can decide to use the area of a rectangle, and let's try it out and say, let's say we are trying to define the area underscore of, remember, always make your name, what do you call it, descriptable enough, rectangle. So rectangle is what? Okay. So rectangle, you're going to say, is always what? I think, what are the parts that comes in a rectangle that year? I think it was the length and the breadth, or the, how do they call it? Yes, I think it's the length and breadth. Guys, remind me of that. I think it was, yes, guys.
Length and breadth, yes.
Yes, length and breadth. So we're going to pass into arguments. So we can just decide to say length, and we can just say breadth. Okay. So once you do this, remember we need to put in the colon, and we press enter. And the next thing we want to do is, what do you think we should do here? I need someone to just raise up their hand and say something regarding this. What can you say? What should I do in this particular? We did in the first one. Okay, Mr. Kwame, your hand is up. What do you think I should do now? You can just tell me what to do right now.
My hand was not up for that. I'm supposed to have lowered it. So
okay,
sorry.
Okay. All right, no problem. Is there anyone that wants to try? What should we do? Want to create the area of a rectangle? Definitely it's length times breadth. Okay, Mr. Francis, you have the floor. Tell me what to do. What should I do here? Please, if you are not Mr. Francis, mute yourself. If you are not Mr. Francis, mute yourself. Okay, I think Miss.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I think that place, that's where you write the formula now. Area.
Yes. Okay. Area equals to
length times breadth.
Okay, length is very easy enough. Length times breadth.
Breadth.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So next, what should I do?
Enter now. Then maybe print area, or yes, print area.
I thought you were saying, I don't know. I was like, maybe print this one or print. You have to be exact because you have defined it as an area. So area is what you are going to print. So print area. I think this is very simple enough for anyone to understand.
But sorry. That area equals length times breadth, right? Is that the argument or parameter?
This particular word, this is you defining the method you want to use for this function. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So once we decide to do this and we decide to call it out, we'll decide
I don't think
to
he
call
got the question right, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was asking the length and the breadth there. Is it the argument or the parameter?
Okay. This is definitely the parameter. I told you already then now that the length and the breadth is the parameter. Then the area equals to length times breadth is the particular kind of method in which you're using to find your, what do you call it, your function, to define your function, what it's supposed to do. Okay? Is it what he's trying to say?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, you have to find a way to put in your methods alone to make your function to work for you. Okay. All right, so let's go there. So it definitely will know what this will be. So we can click enter backspace and we decide to Control V and decide to, now what are we going to do? If we decide to run it like this, it's not going to work for us. So what do we do? The first one should be the length. So we can say the length should be 8 and comma, we separate it with a comma. And if we do that, let's use 4. And if we run this, let's see what it will give us. So you can see 8 times 4 is simply what? Is simply 32. So I don't know if anybody has any question at this point. Let me know if you have any question at this point, because we will start going to global variables and the static kind of variables that if it might get more advanced. Is there anybody that has questions right now? Okay, Mr. Francis, your hand is still up. Is it from the previous class or the previous session? Okay, you can.
I want to ask a question here.
Okay. Please, if you want to ask questions, please ask now.
Please remove your screen. It's blocking what I want to ask.
Okay, sir.
Sorry. So when you say print area, so when you want to run the function now, why don't you run area? Why don't you run the area alone instead of area of rectangle? If you run area, will you not give you the answer?
Okay, can we print area now? Print area wherever you are. When I started the function class, I said that you can only, anything that is inside this particular function does not, you cannot call it out individually. It's only when you call out the function name. You can only make a function to work by calling out its name, which you have defined, which is in this particular one is the area underscore of underscore rectangle. I think I made that clear in the very first class. We said we cannot make a function call without, we can only make a function call by calling its function name. So I think that's all. Is there any other person that has a question now? I think no other person is raising each hand.
Okay. I do.
Who is the person? Your hand is not up. Your hand is not up. Okay, Mr. Funso Adekunle.
Yeah, please, can I go back to your screen, please?
Okay, I'm on the screen.
Now, looking at the first line of the code, the function, depth, area of rectangle, length, and breadth, the parameters. Now, we now went down to area equals length and breadth. What are the difference? Hello?
What are the difference here? You're trying to say that
you've already put the parameters as length and breadth.
Yes.
And now looking at the area equals to length times breadth. So I'm trying to what are the difference between the area length and breadth and the parameters length and breadth?
These parameters this is an argument that is taking place with this parameter. The length represents the 8 and the breadth represents the 4 here.
Okay.
Yes, so that's what you do. If you don't pass this out, if you pass this as another one, it will give you an error trying to tell you that the positional argument stated 2, but you are putting 3. So it's actually you trying to, you can actually try it out okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
all right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, at least you understand. Any other person? I think we are. Mr. Opeyemi, your hand is up. Is it still for this particular session?
Yes, it is for it.
Okay, sir.
It's just like a point I want to make. While I was trying to run it on my phone, I had defined area underscore of underscore rectangle as length with capital letter L and breadth.
Okay.
Then I said area equals to length with small letter L.
Yes.
Breadth. Then I was wondering, the thing was giving me error. I was wondering what is going on. And then I had to look at it closely. And then I realized that I remember when you mentioned that capital letter A is not equal to capital letter B, A, small letter A. Sorry.
Yes, thank
capital
you.
Letter A is not equals to small letter A. So I changed the L to capital. I started with, and then the thing worked. So I just wanted to make that point.
That. Thank you very much, because the capital L is not the same as lowercase L. So that is one of the things you should watch out for in Python. Thank you for that observation, and thank you for sharing as well. Okay. All right, so let's try and get some things done. I'm trying to put in something like a local kind of variable, so I need to understand some things here. I want to put some things up for you, so that you get some things by yourself. So let's go to student data again and try to put in maybe the first name, the second name, and the last name. And let's try to put in different things entirely. So, okay. All right. So area, okay, you are through with area of rectangle now. So let's try and define some variables outside this particular kind of before we even trying to get our function done. Let's try and get some things by ourselves, and let's see if it's going to work for us. Guys, watch what I want to do. Let's try and get a variable. Instead of putting it here, area of rectangle, that is 8,4 here, we tend to define a variable outside before we now put it on here and see what it will give us. So let's define something like S. Let's say S equals to, let's say, 4, and we say U. I'm just trying to create something and see what is going to happen, and you also see the observations yourself. So once we do this, you can decide to say, okay, let's now call out the area of a rectangle in which we did before. And let's try and put something like this. Let's say S, comma, U. Guys, what do you think will be the answer? What do you think will happen right now? Wherever you are, run your code, you can try it out yourself. What do you think it will give you? Okay. Mr. Payemi's hand is still up.
Sorry about that. I forgot to lower it, but I think I can answer. I'm trying to run it here and it's giving invalid syntax. That is what mine is giving.
Okay, let's try and run it here ourselves and let's see what we have. It's running perfectly well for us. It's running perfectly well for us.
I think I know why.
Please mute yourself wherever you are. Mute yourself wherever you are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So what we want to do right now, we're going to play with what we call, we can make a particular kind of function parametric, and I will try to explain what that particular one means when it comes to parametric. Parametric means that you're trying to put in your functions and trying to put more parameters in it, and also using it and trying to create functions, what do you call it? They're trying to create methods that has to lead with that particular function. So let's just try something like, let's make a student data, which we define already to be parametric as well. So let's define, remember when we started, let me try and create a new code here. So let's define, let's say student underscore first name is still here. So let's say the first, let's put a parameter here and say first. Definitely it's not going to work if we do not put the colon here. And we decide to say, okay, print, and that is going to be definitely, what are we going to do? We decide to put the name, and which is okay. Please, if you do not understand at any point, you can actually raise up your hand. I will definitely see it, and we're going to see what we are doing. So I'll keep a space, and I'm going to concatenate here. Since, guys, please pay attention to this particular, this thing is blocking. Now, if there's a plus here, the reason why I'm putting a plus here and I'm not adding any casting here is simply because the name here is already a string. Is already a string character. But if I was putting age here, and I know that the value for this particular one, the name for the input for the first name would definitely be an integer or a float, I'll definitely change it to an integer or a float. But since I know it's going to be a string, I can decide to just concatenate it like that, and we can push ahead. So the next one, let's look at the other one. That is okay. That's I'm running that so it to be stored. So let me define another one. I'm trying to make this parametric alone. So define another function and say student underscore, what do you call it, the last name. We decide to put it here, which is last. That's the parameter we're trying to create here for the string characters. So we decide to also, what do we want this particular one to do for us? We simply want to do what? To do almost the same thing here, which is the last name, print last name. Guys, enter here. So you print, what do you want it to print? It's simply going to be, want you to print the last, going to be the last name. Sorry, oh, my cough, sorry. So what do you want to, we are still concatenating with what? With the last parameter in which we are passed here. Now, the next thing we are going to do right now is the age. And at this particular point, what do you think we are going to do? So we want to look at the student age, definitely the student age. So something is going to change in the print function here. Student underscore age here is already listed. And what do you think is going to be like? We want to pass in the age, and someone could just actually raise up his or her hand and tell me, what do you think will be our print function? How can we put in our print function? What do you think we should print here? Definitely, we are going to use age, space, and we are going to concatenate right now. We're going to concatenate here. So what do you think, guys? What do you think I'm going to need to put here to make this age work for us? Because definitely age is an integer. Definitely age will be an integer. What do you think we should do? I made mention of this in the last class, how we can cast or convert data types. What do you think we need to put in here? Fantastic. I'm seeing Mr. Francis has said something in the good. You put string str underscore. Okay, strs. Okay. So we definitely let's try it out and we'll see what is going, if it's correct. So str means string, and we put what as what age. Well, when you get advanced, you might see that you may not really need to put this plus. You can just put comma and it will work for us. But I'm just trying to make you to get it well for you. So if we have defined this, we'll put the first, we'll put the last, we'll put the age, and we can decide to also run this and put, what they call it again, the last one, looking at the time right now. So the last one was what, guys? I'm going to put all of them together at one as student data. The last one we did, we defined a function that time was what, guys? Which one was it again?
Language.
Language, thank you very much. Language, student underscore language. So it's here already. So we decide to pass it here, and we decide to put lang here. We can just say lang. We don't want to really waste much of our time. So definitely it's going to come with a. Okay, guys, please just excuse me for some seconds. All right, guys, sorry about that. I had a very important call to answer. I'm sorry about that. Apologies, please. So, please, can you hear me? Hello?
Can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the next thing we want to, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So we're definitely going to print, we're going to print the what? Definitely is going to be language. Since this one is also a string, so we don't need to put all those, all this casting and the rest. Please, if you do not understand what casting is or converting a particular from one data type to another, it's very, very important that you ask now, because there are certain things you will not be able to get what you're actually, you not get what we are doing. Please, at this stage, if you are lost, please let us know. So at this particular stage, we are going to define the final kind of student data, and we're going to put all this. That's what I was trying to say. They can tell you, can you make a particular kind of function, the student data which you did, to be parametric in nature. So that's what it means to be parametric in nature. It's very, very important that you get that particular concept. So watch what I want to do right now, and you also need it as you move along. So I've done this for students underscore student language, student age, last name, first name, and so on. So what I want to do now is trying to put all of them. Have I run this code? No, if it's not, if I don't run it, it's not going to work. So I'm going to say, going to define student underscore data, and I'm going to put all these things that I've listed here inside here. So okay, so what are we going to do right now? Students, okay. So the first one we did was what, guys? The first one we did was what? The first one we did was what? The first name, the last name, the age, and the language. Okay? Please, it seems I'm talking to myself. How far? How is it going? Do you understand up to this point, guys? Okay.
We can hear you.
And you're following up, right? Okay. All right. I'm trying to, okay. All right. Okay. So let's try and make this parametric in nature. Let's try and input all the things you have put in for us. So let's see all the languages, what they call it, and let's see how it's going to work for us. Okay. Someone is saying something in the chat room. Okay. Someone is, okay, string on the, okay. Sorry about that. So let's try and make this work for us. Let's try the first name, comma, last name, comma, age, comma, language. Okay. Trying to clear my screen. Okay, now, guys, please watch what I'm doing. So if you are defining this particular function right now, definitely you're going to enter. So what we want to do, we are creating all these things together. And once we do that, we are going to now reference what we have done so far, which is the student underscore first name, student underscore last name, age, and the language itself. So next thing I'm going to do is simply going to be student. I'm going to just take all of them out here. The first one is student underscore first name. Just copy. Okay, paste. And what do you think is going to be here, guys? What do you think it will be? What do you think will be here? Are we lost? What do you think it will be here? Someone said something. I heard someone saying something. Guys, say something, please. I want. Mr. Better, you're saying something?
First name there.
Fantastic. First name. First name. First name. First name. Okay. Then the next one, student underscore last name. Student underscore last name. And what do you think we're going to put here is going to be definitely is going to be last name. Last name. We're still trying to make this parametric in nature. So okay, the next one is going to be student. Student underscore age. Looking at my time, your time is definitely up. So the times we were asking questions. Okay. The next one will definitely be student underscore language. Student underscore language. Okay. Language is here, and definitely we are going to pass in language. Okay. So, okay. So once we do this, and we call out the data of this particular. Now, if you call this out, what do you think would be the answer, guys? Do we need, if you pass something out, do you think it will give us any answer? If we decide to call out this particular student data, do you think it will give us any answer without passing in any parameter for the first? Look at what I did here. Guys, please watch what I'm just doing here right now, because it might really get scary. So if you look at what I did in the first one, I added the student underscore first name gave us first. That means any name that we put here as first, we need to give it a parameter that shows that this particular first name will come out, the last name, the age, and the language itself. So let's try and create a particular kind of data type and say, once we get all these things, let's print them out by ourselves. We're just trying to make things parametric, and I know we have a lot of questions which I'm ready to put it on for you guys to answer you guys. So the first one, I'm going to run this very well for sure so that we know that we are on point. And let's try to create maybe the first. Remember, the first one here was what? The first. We needed the first. We need the last, the age, and the long. All of them inside the student data. Still trying to make a particular one parametric. So the first one we want to do is the first, which we can decide to give me any name right now. Guys, what name do you want to give me right now? Any name at all?
Yinka.
Yinka, okay. Yinka, that's for the first name. And let's try and get the last name. Let's just use last as because we defined it already here. So last name what, guys, please?
I'll do.
Okay. Okay. What do you think would be the age?
29.
29. Okay, 29. Let's use 29. Okay. Next, lang. The language we use definitely is Python. So I will not ask you that one. We are looking at Python right now. So what we want to do now, we have passed out all this, and once we do this, let's see, putting all these parameters which you already defining as student data, and let's see if it's going to work out for us. And if it doesn't, let's see why we should make it work for us. Okay, so let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes, if it's going to work for us. So we make sure we play this and we put it in another code, and we decide to say student underscore data. We want to call out the function here, student underscore data. Definitely we'll put in what? What are we going to put? The first, the last, the age, the first, comma, the last, comma, age, comma, and the long. Okay, so if you run this, let's see if it's going to run for us at some point. Let's see if it's not going to run for us. Let's see if it's true what we are doing, or if it's false what we are doing. So let's my this thing is. Guys, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. I think my headset just got off right now. So if I run this and see, Guys, you can see what just happened now. It's actually all complicated right now. I know I just wanted to rush this and make sure I meet it up on time. So if you do not understand what I just did, just raise up your hand. We'll start from now. This is the time to ask questions. I was trying to make this particular work parametric what it means to be parametric, trying to put in different parameters and linking them up to a particular kind of a whole kind of a broad kind of function that instead of just typing all these things at once all the time, you can decide to say, okay, let me just call out this particular name. For example, you can say for those ones that always use the impute function, you can say first equals to impute. You now say, what is your first name? Last equals to impute, what is your last name? Age, impute your age in integers. You put your language, you put it as a string, and once ever you run it as a student data, automatically you will see it coming out of your system. When we get advanced, you see that we can use Python, linking them up to databases. So this is a practical example in which you are going to see Python in real life. So if you do not understand what I've just done now, I know some person will just say, I don't understand at all. So let me start from, I'm saying, thank God this shows how to make it right for us. Okay, Mr. Payemi's hand is up first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all your explanation. Okay. The question I have is this. Rather than going through all this long process, why don't we define the name right from beginning? Like, if you can scroll up so that I can get to, yes,
okay,
scroll
where? Up. Okay.
Yes. This define student first name. Why not just put the name directly in the box rather than putting first? You understand me? Or we just do define student name and then we'll do print then name. Then we'll put the name that we want to appear in the box. Why can't we do that rather than going through this long process? I don't know if you understand my question.
Yes, I get you. Actually, you can actually do that, but there is what we are going to, as you are progressing into the part, this I think there will be a next stage when we go to databases and then we go to SQL and the rest, how we can link Python to databases and the rest. You are going to see why we are doing all this.
Okay.
It's very, very important. Okay. Like definitely it makes a whole lot of sense right now what you are saying. We could have just done something student underscore data, put in first this, and once you are calling it out, it will make it a whole it will make a whole lot of sense. But what I just wanted to show you that there are certain things, there's what we call parametric kind of defining a particular kind of function. So that's why I was just trying to play it out. So in the future, when we get there, you tend to understand what we have done. That's why I did this.
Okay.
That's why I did this practically. Okay. That's why I did this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So if I understand you, you are saying if we do it the other way around, it will still work. But for future sake.
Yes.
For future
definitely,
sake, when it becomes more advanced, so that we can understand.
Yes, so if you can actually look at here on this particular line, I don't know if you can see my screen. You could have done something here. Yes, here, and we'll not even reference this. One could have been a new parameters entirely. We now created what we want to use it as student name. We define here like what we want the particular function to do for us. Simply, we just go straight to the point.
Okay.
All right.
It's all right. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sunday. Mr. Sunday, your hand is up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the code. Instead of writing the first name, I just want to ask, can you go to the code, please?
Okay, sir.
I mean, instead of defining first, last, age, language, can we just substitute what we want to put there inside student data directly and then print it out for us?
Can you do what? Can you put it the
Yinka, Audu, 29, and Python in student data directly?
Okay, instead of doing this, and let's see if it's going to work. We want to do it practically, and we'll explain why. So, Yinka, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abi?
Yes.
And we cancel this. How do we use capital? Okay, let's just use this. Then what again?
29.
Okay, 29 would not be in a string, so 29. And the language, let's use what?
Python.
It's a small Python, so let's see. Okay. So it actually worked for us too.
Okay.
So this is just trying to tell you that this is an argument in which you are passing. It's going to work for you very well very, very well, because you are the only thing that will not work for you is maybe when you try to, like, let's say you're trying to put another argument here, you start to pass in another argument that is more than 4, it's not going to work for you. Okay, I think you have done it practically. Miss Nena, your hand is up, please, you have the floor.
Okay, please, I want to understand why you concatenate the first name and plus first. I don't understand it.
Okay.
I asked, why did you concatenate it?
Okay, why did I concatenate the first name and the what?
And first, as in first name, can we say print just the first name rather than adding plus first?
Hey, we are adding it because we are adding a string to it. If you look at this answer, final answer for us, you can see there's language here. This language is trying to tell you that we want to print the language in which the person is using, which you want to just represent it at once. So that's, if you look at the final output here, all these things that we have added as concatenation is actually showing. If you can see name, Yinka, last name, these are the things that we added as concatenations here. Name here first, last here, last name here, you can see last. Age, which we are adding it to this particular one, which is the real age of it, as changing it to what? A string. So you can see it actually shows you as age. You need to put in all these parameters for you to understand that this person is actually saying the name is Inka, last name is Audu, age is 29, language is Python. If you remove all this, it will just show Inka, Audu, 29, Python. It will not be descriptive enough.
Okay, I understand.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions? Please, if you have any question, please ask me right now. The time is up. We are 9:34 right now. If you have any questions right now, please let me know. Okay, Okeyemi, your hand is up. Mr. Okeyemi, your hand is still up.
Yes, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, I will have to take you back. I'm sorry about that. To when we did length and breadth. I have a question I'm supposed to have.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. When we did this define area of rectangle, length and breadth, area equals to length and breadth, can't we do something and say like length equals to 8, breadth equals to 4, rather than doing it this way? What if we do it that way? Will it still work? Defining the length and breadth separately. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, length is equals to 4 and breadth is
equals to 8, breadth equals to 4.
Where do you want us to put it?
I'm just asking, can't we do it like that rather than doing it this way? I was just thinking, is it possible we do it that way? We already said area equals to length times breadth.
Yes.
What if we now say length equals to 8 and then breadth equals to 4, and then we now do print area? Will it not work if we do it that way?
All right, let's do it.
That way?
I like it to be practical enough, so let's do it. Let's comment this one out.
Okay.
And you said
after area equals to length times breadth, what if we do length equals to 8 and then breadth equals to 4 before we do print area? Will it not work?
Okay. Length equals to what?
Equals to 8.
area equals to
No, breadth.
4, right?
Breadth. Length equals to 8.
Sorry.
Breadth. Length equals to 8. Breadth equals to 4.
Okay, breadth what equals to 4, okay? And we now
Yes.
print
So if
what area?
print area, will it not work?
Where do you want to print it now, right now?
Yes.
I like it like this. So let's see if it's going to work. It will not even answer because you are not calling out the function.
Okay.
Okay, now let me go back. Let me add a code to this and say print area separately.
Okay.
Right? Okay, can you see? Name
Okay,
area
saying
is
area
not defined. You have not defined the
but
area
we already
because
said area equals to length times breadth. Okay, you have to define it. The area equals to length times breadth.
You have to define it. It's already defined, but it's inside a function. So it will not be called upon until you call the name of the function. That's when it's going to work for you for area. It doesn't work that way for function.
I was just thinking why can't we do it this way also,
No,
rather than the other way.
No.
All right. Then the second question I have is this.
Okay.
The assignment we did today, are we not supposed to see whether we got it or not, so that we'll know if there's a correction to make, we'll take it and all that?
Yeah, so the
Did you get
assignment, the one I just sent to you, the math functions, I met people individually trying to tell you, okay, this particular thing is wrong. So what I'm actually doing is the 2 assignments that I've dropped, the first, the second, and the third. Once I drop the solution, there will be a solution I'm going to drop, and I'm going to tell you, you are going to now use it to compare it with your result, if it's correct or not. You'll be the one to assess yourself on that. I may not really have the time to tell you, okay, this is how you did it, but I will send a solution to it. So immediately I send a solution, some persons, I'm still waiting for some persons to submit their first assignment. That is the issue I'm having right now. So that's why I've not done that particular one for you guys.
All right.
So for the math function, I met people individually, and even some person during your submission, I'll just look at your code. I'll tell you these are the things you did badly, and these are the ways you can correct it. I used to meet individually if I see that there is no issue, there is an issue with your code. So
if we are not contacted, that means maybe there is not an issue.
You are doing well. I think I had to contact you on some things today, sir.
Yes, the format of the.
Yes, when I looked at your comment, when I saw what you did later, it was okay. Nena, your hand is still up.
Yes, you made mention of before I had the network issue. You made mention of local function or global function.
Local and global variable. Yes, there will be local and global variable when we begin. It's still part of function. We still have a return statement. We still have a lot of things to do on that function. So there are certain things that when you call like a global variable, once you call a global variable and you put it in and you define it inside your function and call it as an argument, it will work for you. But a local variable which is inside, which you've already seen it already, for example, something like this particular area is equals to length times breadth is known as a local variable. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, exactly. So even though you call it out outside this function, if you call it out, if you call this area out of this function, it will not work. It will definitely not work. It's as far as it must be in the area of a rectangle kind of what they call it function. If you don't call it inside here, it will not work. But a global variable, even though you state it outside and you use it for your function here, it will definitely still work for you. It will not cause an error compared to the other one. So we are still getting there. I'm taking it one after the other for us to understand. I just wanted us to get this parametric kind of functions today, and I'm very happy, even though we saw that we had different ways of we could have gotten it straightforward, but I just wanted us to link up some things for us to see. Okay. All right. So yes. Any other questions so far? We have ended the class, so guys, you can leave the class. Thank you very much for always joining up. There will be a recording. Did I save it? Okay, I'm recording it right now. So you have anything that you're still having doubt upon? If you have any doubt, if you don't still understand some things, let me know. Okay.
But the time is short.
The time is short?
Yes.
How? How do you want us to extend it? Some persons are saying we need just 1 hour. Some persons are saying we need long. So any other person that wants a longer time, let's know apart from Mrs. Nena. Any other person?
Yes, I want a longer time.
Who is that? Who is the one saying Miss 3 hours? Someone is saying 3 hours.
Maybe you lecture for like 1 hour 30 minutes, then the remaining 30 minutes or 45 minutes will be hours.
Hey, okay. wait, okay. I would actually love to do that, but I'm telling you, to be sincere with you, I will not be able to do that because of the nature of my work here. Yeah, so I work here and it will not, although I would love to, it will be wonderful, but hey, I cannot guarantee you I might break down completely.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because yes, when it comes to solving data science, I will not tell you it's difficult, but data science it's definitely, because you look at working with data and trying to analyze certain things. Even right now, I have a project I'm still handling, and it's not easy, I'm telling you. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just craving out that 1 hour is enough for me to just pour out what I have to give you guys, and let's complete the 100 days. So
okay,
that is what I can tell you right now. Please, 1 hour is okay. Please, I'm just begging. Okay. At least it's how many days? Let's just manage, and it's okay. I know Mr. Gabriel wants more. Like you can do it till 3 a.m. Please, I'm begging you. Okay. Francis,
okay, let's 5 hours. Let's go for 5 hours, please.
Mr. Who said 5 hours? Dr. David, please, I'm begging you. I know it's a screen edition, but let's calm down. Okay. Did you get Mr. Gabriel? Did you understand what we did today?
Yeah, I did. Actually. Yeah. Most of what we did today are things that I'd always prefer the other shorter way of doing it. So whenever I come across them, I had to learn them, but I usually try to.
Yeah, we'll tend to get more. You still get to see all these things while I'm doing it, because sometimes I tend to, like, when I see things like that, I think I used to, most times I normally go through like kind of questions, possible questions. There are certain kind of questions that I see on the internet. I'll try to see possible data science or Python kind of interview questions. So when I see things like this, I'll see that it doesn't really make sense to, you can just run your code directly. So there's this, my colleague here that is actually, there's a friend that is working remotely, and they needed a role of a data scientist, and they said the guy must know Python well. And I looked at the question they asked, and it was mainly this particular parametric kind of function. So I said, I'm teaching function, and it's simply going to be just this one. Let me just introduce it to my student to help them out in the future. So that's why I did that. So let's just, anything we learn is for the future, and anyone you don't understand, let's always get to ask questions. Okay, Mr. Francis, you say you eliminate. He said you'll be eliminated before you eliminate us. Okay, I've not eliminated anybody yet, but so far people are not submitting their assignment. I don't know. I've tried contacting them. They say they're having issues with their collab and the rest. All right, guys. So take care. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. All right.